Torrential rain has caused severe flooding in parts of central China. Zhengzhou, the capital city of Henan province, was the most affected city. More than a dozen cities have been affected, with main roads forced to close and flights cancelled. For the Henan province, the province which is home to some 94 million people. The Chinese official report stated that 12 people have been killed, and one of the dams in Henan province has collapsed due to heavy flooding, and another dam in Henan's major city was said to could collapse at any time. It is heartbreaking to watch some of the leaked videos from the internet, and the rescue effort is still ongoing. But the Communist China's mainstream mouthpieces seem to slack in reporting about this matter. The heavy rain has been going on for 3 days, but the national news channels only started their reporting today. Welcome to Beyond the News, I'm Faye. A shocking news leaked out of China on Twitter today. It was heartbreaking to watch what is happening for the current disaster in Henan. I can't help it but again feeling so disappointed about how the mainstream media in China have been avoiding to report on such matters. According to Zhengzhou City's Bureaus of Meteorology, on July 20th, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., there was a total of 202 millimeters of rainfall, breaking the single-hour rainfall record in China. From July 17th to 20th, there was a total of 617 millimeters of rainfall recorded. To put that into perspective, Zhengzhou's annual average rainfall is 640 millimeters. In other words, almost the whole year's worth of rainfall was dumped onto Zhengzhou in 3 days. On top of that, most of the rain was pouring in on the 20th. About 553 millimeters of rainfall poured onto the city. The city's Bureau of Meteorology said the likelihood of this kind of rainfall happening is once in more than 1,000 years. The Zhengzhou government has issued the red weather alert. The water level on the streets was already waist high. Some passengers were stuck in flooded subway carriages, with water reaching their shoulders. There has been rumors that for some carriages, all the passengers were drowned. Cars are floating away on the street. People are being flashed away by the torrent. Bodies seen floating on streets. The flood also caused the top hospital in the area to lose its power. 10,000 patients were stuck in the hospital with no water, no food, not even a place to sit. As usual, the number of the deaths is always underestimated by the officials in China deliberately. In a situation like this in China, we would need to multiply the official number of deaths by tens or even hundreds. But sadly, we'll never know the real number, as usual. After the heavy rains in Henan province, many people are questioning the reliability of the weather forecast. According to Chinese media reports, the local meteorological department had already reported the forecasted rainfall, but only the location is slightly off. On the afternoon of the 17th, Zhengzhou city officials of Henan province issued a warning that Zhengzhou city will face heavy rainfall, and that Zhengzhou will be the center of the incoming heavy rain. Meanwhile, the Zhengzhou city officials has also issued a forecast warning, but it stated that Zhengzhou would be the subcenter of heavy rain, and its intensity will not be as great as what Zhengzhou city would be facing. But the real situation was that Zhengzhou city was in fact the center of heavy rain, and Zhengzhou city became the subcenter. Apart from the mentioned weather alert from the two city officials, there wasn't any report seen at national news channels after 2 days of the heavy rain. Strangely enough, instead of reporting on their own disaster, the Chinese national news is actively reporting on the floods that are happening in the European countries. Well, it is not that strange for the Chinese media, in fact, as this is a classic Chinese propaganda tactic to show how bad things are in other countries, thus making Chinese people who watch this propaganda thinking that life in China is better than others, and avoiding or shifting the attention away from China's own flooding situation. I'm sure the media in those European countries would report on their own situation first. What happened in China, for them, it would be secondary in reporting. But things in China are working in the reverse order in this regard. Let's take another odd example. Yesterday, the Zhengzhou city government's official account on Weibo put out a post at 7 p.m. We believe the city will be cleaner and trees will be greener. What do you think? What do you make out of it? Let me know in the comment below. By 11 p.m. yesterday, the edited version posted without cleaner and greener sentence. Obviously, they realized that it was a bit overkill in their language. After 2 days of silence, one of the reporters from the national news finally mentioned the current flood, but what she said is sickening to hear. Even in this tragic situation, the communist propaganda still won't stop. She was bragging about the glories of the Chinese Communist Party again, on how efficient the rescuing efforts was and how accurate the weather forecast was and how experienced things were handled in the nation. But she conveniently forgotten to include any of the not-so-glory scenes from the disaster, such as people were yelling for help and dead bodies floating on the torrent. Let's take a look.
要我说啊，这次的应对很有样，充分运用了科学手段，做到了全面而系统。暴雨到来之前，气象部门连发预报；暴雨到来之后呢，从交通路政部门。
This is another regularly employed CCP's propaganda tactic, reporting only the good news, avoiding any bad news. Even during natural disasters, the media will try to twist the story in a positive way, saying how effective the government is and how the Chinese people are united together to support the region in disaster. Later on, as usual, there will be touching stories that happened during the rescue to be reported, and then there will be ceremonies and celebrations on how the Chinese Communist Party has cared for the people, etc. So how is the local government dealing with the flood? All we can say is there seems to be a conflicting message from the local and state government. There was an official statement from the Zhengzhou local government warning people about the extreme weather and stating that the city is in the first level disaster alert, and it was reposted by the mouthpiece, the Global Times. 2 hours later, another bigger mouthpiece, People's Daily, reported that it was fake news. Wow, this is probably the first time ever I've seen them standing on different grounds. And it seems that People's Daily got the demand from higher above to stop the false disaster information spreading. So the communist regime is trying to cover up the disaster again. Rumor has it that this flooding is partially due to the extremely heavy rain and partially due to the failure of the dam nearby. Like the third deadliest flooding disaster recorded in China's history, which happened in Henan in 1975, caused by the Banqiao Dam's failure. It was officially stated as a natural disaster. After the disaster, the Chinese government remained silent about the disaster. No media in China was allowed to do any report on it. However, back then, the chief engineer of the dam projects had warned people about the conditions of the dam and overestimated the dam's water storage capacity. There would be a high risk in creating serious floods and relevant disasters. Nevertheless, the engineer's warning was ignored, and he was even criticized for being people's enemy. Soon, he was removed from his post and was sent to Xinyang City. In 2005, the Discovery Channel rated the Banqiao Dam failure as the greatest technological catastrophe of the world, beating the Chernobyl nuclear disaster of the Soviet Union. The Discovery cited that the death toll of the disaster was 240,000, which included the 140,000 deaths due to famine and epidemics came after the dam failure incident. However, as usual, not many Chinese people know about the Banqiao Dam disaster so far. Strange again, isn't it? But I assure you that not just the Banqiao disaster, most of the disasters happened during the CCP's ruling of China won't be noticed by most of the Chinese who are not directly impacted. Sadly, that is how things work in the Chinese Communist regime. Now we can only hope that most people in the Zhengzhou city in Henan will make it through this disaster this time. Alright, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please subscribe, like and share. Thank you for watching Beyond the News. I'm Faye. Until next time.